Good afternoon and welcome to From the Wings. I'm Stephanie Freed and I am so glad that you're able to join us for today's episode. As you know, the Bushnell is not just Broadway shows. We have a host of other performances, events, productions. Many of these are part of our relationships with other local arts organizations such as the Hartford Symphony Orchestra or the Connecticut Forum. A new relationship, which began earlier this season with their production of The Nutcracker, is with the Ballet Theatre Company in West Hartford. This weekend, Ballet Theatre Company is bringing the story of Aladdin to life on the Belding stage. In creating this remarkable performance, they have partnered with local Kathak performer, choreographer, and educator Rakna Ramya to co-choreograph select scenes in Aladdin to more accurately depict the cultural manifestation of the Middle East folktale, 1001 Nights, or folk tales plural, 1001 Nights, which inspired Detellus' rendition. So I can't wait to learn more about it and to tell you more about who each of those people I just referenced are. So as we do before each episode of From the Wings, I'd like to recognize Webster Bank, our official presenter of the From the Wings series. We are so grateful to Webster Bank for their loyal and generous support today and always. Thank you, Webster Bank. Before we begin the conversation with our friends from Ballet Theatre Company, I wanted to take a minute to mention that last Thursday specifically, we announced our upcoming 22-23 Bushnell Broadway series. I know I said we do more than Broadway, but we do also do Broadway, and I want to share it because we are so excited about it. We have 7 amazing shows coming to Hartford, and as a reminder, we still do have 2 shows that are part of our 21-22 Broadway series that will be coming, Mean Girls and Hadestown. They're going to be here during what is the 22-23 season, but they were part of the 21-22 package. So let's see all of the goodness that is part of our next season. Let's roll tape.
The best of Broadway in Hartford. Experience the excitement of 7 amazing productions. The 2022-2023 Bushnell Broadway Series season. Disney's Aladdin. Six. Tootsie. Tina, the Tina Turner musical. Jagged Little Pill. Ain't Too Proud, the life and times of the Temptations. And Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. The Bushnell 2022-2023 Broadway season. Sponsored by Aetna and Travelers.
I told you it was amazing, right? Such great music, incredible stories, and it really is the very best of Broadway coming here to Connecticut. I am so excited. Okay, so if you are currently a subscriber and you wish to renew for next season, head on over to bushnell.org and log into your account. You can renew there today. We'll also be sending out your paper form. Those will go out a little later this week. So you'll get that. You can renew either way. We hope you do. It's a great season. But if you're not yet a subscriber and you want to get in line to make sure you've got the best access to available seats, go to bushnell.org and click on the image at the top of the page, and you can go in and save your spot in line with a deposit on a seat or multiple seats for next season. I hope you do it. It's going to be great. But as I said at the very beginning, there is so much more to the Bushnell than our fantastic, and it is fantastic, Broadway lineup. So let's get to today's conversation. There's so much I want to be sure that we cover about this phenomenal production of the ballet Aladdin, not to be confused with the show you just saw in our Broadway lineup, but the ballet Aladdin. And to talk this through, I'm pleased to welcome from Ballet Theatre Company, Artistic Director and Choreographer Stephanie Detalis, along with Emily Silva, who's the Rehearsal Director and the Diamond Lead, Pat Nurnberger, who's the costume designer for the production, and Joanne Burke and Aldir Monteiro, who perform the lead role of the princess and the Aladdin, respectively. So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me there from the Bushnell, it looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like, Pat, you might be in your studio?
I am.
Needle in hand. Busy at work.
Last minute touches, right? Last minute touches on this.
They never end.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about that when we get there. Stephanie, so you are artistic director and choreographer for this production of Aladdin, but artistic director for Ballet Theatre Company. Tell me a little bit more about your organization.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, thanks for having us on. We're really thrilled to be here. And as you said, it's day one for us in the theater. So it's the very first, we stepped into the theater for the very first time not too long ago. So thank you for that. But also Ballet Theatre Company, I like to think of it as a 3-part mission. Our mission is to bring performance and education through the art of dance to the greater Hartford area. And with that, there's, performances like Aladdin that we bring on main stage, or we do many neoclassical and contemporary and modern performances throughout the year. We like to visit retirement homes and libraries and really just inspire through our craft of dance. And then another major component to the organization is our training school, which educates dancers from ages 3 through adult, whether they want to pursue dance professionally or they're just interested in dance on a recreational basis. And then one of my most favorite parts of the organization is our work that we do in the community and our outreach, so that anyone can enjoy the joy that art of dance brings to us. So Ballet Theatre Company has been around for 22 years. We're in our 22nd season. 23rd season. Oh my goodness. And I think in the last 3 years, we've really started to make that shift to where we are now at the Bushnell Theater. So yeah.
How exciting. I had no idea that BTC's been around for that long. That's amazing.
Yeah, 23 years.
Started
as a small performing ensemble and has grown into, what it is today. And yeah, it's a big feat for any nonprofit and especially performing arts organization, especially in the climate that, we typically have to conquer some hills larger than others. But yeah, very proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Your production of Nutcracker back in December at the Bushnell, it was phenomenal. I know it was really, really well received. And, as you considered what was next after Nutcracker, what compelled you to explore Aladdin?
The $1 million question. Well, first, thank you. Yes, Nutcracker was our first performance back to a theater after 2 years. So there was, aside from being in the Bushnell Belvedere Theater for the first time, just to step into a theater again after 2 years of, not being able to, it was a special performance. And I think other organizations and companies in performing arts have had a similar experience. But as far as Aladdin goes, because that's what we're talking about today, I actually selected Aladdin in our 21st season. It was
2020 when it was going to premiere.
So to premiere in May 2020. And when we started our planning for the current season, the 23rd season, I decided to revisit Aladdin and include it in our 23rd season. And at the time of selecting Aladdin in 2020, I wanted to bring attention to a leading male role. A lot of male identifying boys go through some adversity and have experienced bullying, and boys in ballet was a very big topic of conversation at the time. And it was important, and it motivated me to want to make that part of our season, to show how powerful men are in dance. And I think Aladdin is the perfect role to do that. But upon my research of the Aladdin story, so everyone knows the Disney version, but many don't know that actually the first version of Aladdin is done in China. So the actual story of Aladdin was first, in the golden Islamic age when all of these Middle Eastern and South Asian folktales were produced, shows that Aladdin was actually Chinese. So that really inspired me to do some more research and to explore 1000 Arabian Nights, which is what the inspiration is from for the storyline. And through that research, I became really intrigued with the culture and some of the stories that are part of the Middle Eastern folktales, like Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp, which is the version that many know from Disney. Disney took that folktale and turned it into their own story. Aladdin is actually not an orphan boy. He lives at home with his mother and is typically lazy. Not this Aladdin, though. Our Aladdin is not lazy. And I was really drawn to the story and how it doesn't follow initially, to save a princess or to find true love. It's really about discovering yourself and figuring out who you want to be as a person. And I think Aladdin goes through that in the story of Aladdin. But I also really loved the score. So there is an Aladdin ballet score. It has not been performed many times. It's done by Carl Davis, and it has such a wide range of instrumentation and quality, and just it's a very deep. It's an incredible score of depth. And I am somebody who choreographs 100% based on musicality. Counts are not my forte. Emily will surely talk about that later. But it was really the music, the storyline, and the Aladdin character that drew me to the selection and wanting to revisit it for our 23rd season. So that's the long end. I'm sure there's many details, but I know we have many things I'm sure you want to ask.
Well, I do. It sounds like, wow, did you do your research? You've spent so much time understanding and imagining this. I know that you reached out to, and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing the name correctly, Rachna Ramya,
Yes.
to co-choreograph. Tell me a little bit about that and why you made that choice.
Yeah, I think it was, so, it's important that and especially for me, but when you're revisiting or you're visiting or researching a culture that you are not a part of, or that isn't something I know firsthand, to do it justice and to be genuine and as authentic as possible. And Rachna, being a local performer in Kathak dance and educator, and also just really present in the dance community of Hartford in general, I felt really inclined and found it really crucial to invite her to collaborate on this project. Not just for the dance and to celebrate and unify different genres of dance and cultures that include dance, but because the story is set in the Middle East. And through her guidance and through the collaboration, I learned and have learned and continue to learn so much about Middle Eastern culture. For example, and this is something that Pat can chime in later, we had our scheme of costumes that were decided, and for the wedding scene, and I kind of blame Disney in a way, the white and gold, but it's actually a woman who wears white to a wedding in the Middle East is a widow. So there was many things along our journey of just talking about the production and the storyline that she really led me to what it has become. And of course, ballet is a beautiful art form. I mean, of course, I'm not biased, and I thought it would be really interesting to find a way to integrate some of that culture within the storyline using ballet as the base. But one of the scenes that Joanne is featured in the bathhouse, Rachna was part of the choreography, and she took the dancers through many different gesture, hand movements and dance movements itself. And then we kind of used that and combined it together to create the bathhouse scene. So Make Me Beautiful, which is one of them, is a co-collaborative piece that Rachna did together. And she also is playing Aladdin's mother. So when you watch a ballet, there's many different pantomimes that are used to decipher or tell what's happening in the story. So it's very conversational based. So, in ballet, this is the sign of money and wealth. But Rachna told us that if we use this, it's for riches and jewels. So it was really interesting to take both and kind of use them interchangeably throughout the story. So if you're somebody who is a ballet patron and fan, and you've seen ballets many years, you know that this is wealth, or that this is marriage, or this is, a dance. But now we have these new gestures that reference the Middle East and that culture. So I think it's the
Bottom line.
The bottom line is I was very inclined and thought it really crucial to do these cultures and to include the richness of their traditions and who they are, was to invite collaborators who know it best, and not just use my interpretation of what I research. So yeah, that's the collaboration. But we also have Julie Lai from Asian Performing Arts, who choreographed a traditional Chinese bouquet dance to include in the story. Homage to that, Aladdin was, in the first version Chinese, but also the storyline takes place throughout the Middle East and South Asia. So I wanted there to be, something that referenced and celebrated that too.
It's so interesting. And I think that collaboration, it enriches not just the performance, but then what the audience receives and what the audience is able to take away, the way they're able to understand it and appreciate the depth that true representation brings. I think that's just wonderful. You mentioned Joanne and Joanne as the princess. I'd be very interested to know, what has this process been like for you, bringing this tale to life through ballet?
Yeah, I mean, I think this process kind of had two parts for me. So obviously, the first layer of that was the technical side, dancing, especially doing a pas or doing multiple pas in this case. You set a certain level, like a certain standard for yourself dance-wise, but then on top of that, there's a certain need to tell a story. So there's like an artistic side to it. So I think that was part of the process a lot as well. And when Aldir came in and we started rehearsing, it was really cool to see that start to come together, because we could start to tell the story as a couple instead of just me. So yeah, it was fun.
And how long have you been rehearsing?
So we've been rehearsing since, I want to say, the end of January, but Aldir came in not too long ago.
I think I came in like a month ago for 3 days, and then 2 weeks ago.
And then 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wow. And I will just say, we are doing this live, so we're hearing lots of stuff in the background. It's just indicative of a busy theater getting ready for an amazing performance. So just want to acknowledge that for folks watching. Those are the sounds of making it happen.
Sure is. Those are boxes of lights being carried out of the theater.
Emily, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just going to mention that I think a lot of times, and I think Joanne mentioned it, what you see on stage is the final product. But for a company like Ballet Theatre, where we've brought in somebody like Aldir to join us as a leading role, I mean, he learned this whole ballet within 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. Yeah. And I think that's just something to note. So it's not just learning the storyline, learning the choreography. It's getting into character in a very quick turnaround, finding
with the partner,
finding the chemistry and the cohesiveness with a partner who also you're in love with. So there's a lot that plays into preparing for the production. And in this case, preparing for the production very, very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. That is incredibly fast. When you think about a normal rehearsal period, say for a show where it's 6 weeks, it's 8 weeks, 2 weeks is incredible out here. It's incredible. I have a question for Emily. So Emily, I know you're doing double duty with this production, both as rehearsal director and the diamond lead. You have a great deal on your plate. How has your work on this production been different or unique, than a typical production?
Well, I've done quite a few productions with Stephanie in particular, where I'm doing double duty to a certain extent. Now more so than ever, definitely. It's kind of grown into 2 larger roles on each side, and it can get a little bit crazy, but I really love both sides of each role. Like, I wouldn't want to do one and not the other, I guess. I love being on stage, and I also love being up at the front of the room and helping her set the pieces and working through those details and all that behind the scenes stuff. In terms of how this production was different, the main one is that I'm dancing more.
Okay.
So the thing about dancing more is lovely. I love dancing more. But when we're in the theater, that means that there's less time that I can be out in the house with Stephanie, that I can be looking at formations and writing down corrections, and that we can be tossing ideas off each other. That means that oftentimes I'm clicking play on my watch as I'm about to start the scene that I'm dancing in, to try to like balance the 2 roles. So I would say that's the main difference, and that in this production, in the past we haven't had so many different styles of dance involved. With the collaborations with Rachna and with Julie, which have been just so incredible for all of us, for our students, for the professionals, for the staff. Yeah. But having that extra element, I'm very, very accustomed to recording Stephanie's choreography and writing down the timing and who she wants where and what the port de bras, what the arm position should be. And, all those little details that come with part of my job of making sure that everyone knows what's happening. And when we added on Rachna and Julie to that, now I'm trying to figure out like a new style of dance that I've never learned before. And I'm trying to record it as well and make sure that I'm telling everyone what count they should be doing, the fire hands gesture on. So I think that those are the 2 main things that made this production a little bit different. But I don't know. I think it's pretty fun doing double duty.
It's exciting, but it sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot that you're trying to manage in your head. And
it is absolutely a lot.
I couldn't do it without her.
No, we work well together. It wouldn't work so well if we didn't have such a good understanding of how we work together as a team. Obviously Stephanie's choreography, but the way that I'm helping her implement it, and just like the process of putting it together. We've worked together for a number of years at this point, in various situations. So having that like good understanding and being able to anticipate, what the needs are of the production and what our priority is as an artistic staff, that helps me be able to balance both without being like totally a crazy person.
and seeing the whole, right? You see the whole, and this whole happens to be very large. It's a very large sphere, let's call it. Speaking of kind of large and a lot to think about and consider, Aldir, this role of Aladdin, it's huge. How have you prepared to dance this role? I know we just heard from you 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And what has that experience been like for you?
It is a huge role for sure, especially for a male dancer, because usually in ballet, story ballets, the story usually revolves around the ballerina. So having a ballet that it's the story, it's about a male dancer, it's a huge deal, and I'm very honored to be a part of it. And yes, I did just dive in it 2 weeks ago, and kind of the process is a lot like collaborating with Stephanie and using my instincts, as well as using a lot of the knowledge of Rachna on like how to honor the culture and do the proper gestures, like especially when we have interactions in pantomime. So I was very focused on like making sure that I'm honoring the culture, especially because such a rich culture and also story that like, I watched when I was a little boy. So it's just a great deal. And I just love the character. He's just an innocent, naive boy, but he has so much will to succeed, and he wants to do it. It's just incredible. It's been a very incredible experience, especially working with Joanne. That like we didn't know how like when you arrive in a job like that, you don't know how it's gonna work out, and like we just got along very fast, and it made the process much so enjoyable and so easy, like especially with the partnering, because it can be very difficult sometimes, but I think we just had a connection right away, and that helped a lot as well in the process.
Yeah, finding that place where you come together and have that chemistry. I'm so glad that happened. It's not surprising because you both are delightful, and I'm sure that coming together and creating, bringing the choreography to life, having that chemistry made that. I don't know about easier, because I don't know that I think anything about what you all do is easy, but more readily possible, given who you are as people.
Can I comment on something?
Please do.
So too, I'd just like to know, for all of us female dancers, it's really wonderful to have a partner who is as supportive as Eldir, but also is so intuitive for what needs to happen with his partner. And I think, having 2 weeks to stage 2 pas de deux, 2 very different pas de deux. For me as a choreographer, it was really wonderful to be working with somebody like Eldir who had that instinct to say, I'm like, I really want to do this, but I don't partner like a guy. Like I'm usually, I know Joanne's spot. How can we make this happen? And he was so eager and, wonderful and excited to try things, and many things, and some worked, most worked. But I think that's also for him to be a good partner, to look like a good partner, Joanne has to look good. And he knows that. And that has been his number one focus within the partnership. And I think that just illuminates on stage. And I'm really excited for everyone in the audience to see this partnership blossom in the 3 performances that we have, because to be in 2 weeks of rehearsals and then put on a production like this and with 2 pas de deux is a very big feat. And they've done it so, like he said, it's just been so at ease and natural. And
I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. In this conversation, we've been seeing a lot of photos, right? Beautiful imagery of you all. And I just have to say, these costumes are gorgeous. Pat, can you tell me a lot actually about the inspiration for these beautiful designs, and then just a little sort of second piece to that. I'm super curious how designing for dance, costumes for dance, might be different than, say, designing for the stage for a musical or a straight play. So I'd love to know more.
Well, to start, Stephanie and I met back in early January and talked about, her hopes and her image for what the show should look like. And so my process is to do a lot of research. So I dug into as much Middle Eastern culture as I could. Plus, I have a lot of resource books that I can't stop buying. And so I looked through my books and had a sense of stylistic. And because it's not a real place, it's really a fantasy, it's a fairy tale, I didn't want any one costume to say, that one is from Iraq or that is from Iran. So there is a combination of everything from Eastern Europe through the Middle East and into India for inspiration for shapes and costumes and things like that. Okay. So and then because it's so huge, it's huge. There's almost 200 costumes for this show, and so to organize them and to try to figure out how to express to the public who's who. I worked into color stories. Like the jewels were very easy because a sapphire is blue. Sure. Well, actually, there are other color sapphires, but you wouldn't know what it was. But so that was easy. But Stephanie was able to show me some ideas for what the backdrops might look like. And so I took my inspiration from the marketplace, particularly from the backdrops that she showed me. And so because there were beautiful, brilliant colors in this wonderful fantasy Middle Eastern royal town, the marketplace is all very, very bright. And I just divided it. So the marketplace people are warm colors, and the thieves, who are another element of the marketplace, are cool colors. And Aladdin kind of straddles both.
Okay.
And his costume is composed of both warm and cool colors.
Okay.
Because he's part of both worlds.
Sure.
Can you?
I had us muted. Sorry.
Oh, Pat, can you talk about a little bit what they're seeing on the screen here? Because I find this so fascinating that you don't only do the costume designs and you create the costumes, but can you tell what these are?
Well, in order for me to organize my thoughts and actually to actually do the design work, I do color renderings, which my blessed professor, when I did my master's, insisted that we all learn how to draw really, really well. So everything is in color, and it helps to organize who everybody is. It's important for a cast that's as huge as this one to make sure that everything doesn't look the same. So once you put it down on paper and draw it out, then you have more of a feeling of that there's a good balance and a rhythm to the shapes and as they move throughout the show. So what you see here are all my renderings. The ones that are in the foreground on the left are the onyx and pearls, which are the black and white, and they're accented with little onyx and pearl jewels in the opposite color. So black has white and white has black. And the person next to them, for instance, is the cave jewels, which was inspired by some images of jewels that Stephanie had given me. And then I tried to find fabric that could express that particular idea.
There's, we talk about the hugeness of a role, the hugeness of the choreography, but the amount of work you had to do here, and beautiful, creative, inspired work that you've done here. It is large and it is remarkable. It's just beautiful. I could spend hours sitting here learning more from all of you about this show coming up. I am so excited to see it. And I am so grateful to you all for spending this time with us today. For those watching, Ballet Theatre Company presents Aladdin will be in performance at the Bushnell on this Saturday and Sunday, April 23rd and 24th. For specific performance and ticket information, visit us at bushnell.org. That'll all pop up here on the screen, so head there to check it out. Again, I want to thank you all so much for joining me. I know you have to get back to work, but I thank you, and I wish you merry for this weekend. I hope it is everything that you want it to be.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us and talking about the show, and for the Bushnell for being such wonderful hosts. We're so happy to be here and presenting our work at your theater. So thank you.
We're so glad you're here. Thank you. If you'd like to know more about Ballet Theatre Company, visit them at dancebtc.org. I hope to get to see you this weekend at one of their performances. And as we wrap up today's conversation, just a reminder that the Bushnell depends on private support in addition to ticket sales to support our mission to elevate the spirit of our community. And again, we are especially grateful for the continued commitment of our sponsor, Webster Bank. It's also your support through giving, subscription, ticket purchases that help sustain us. And it ensured that we were here and ready to open when the time was right. And now we are back. So if you'd like to renew your gift, or if you are considering making a gift for the very first time, visit us at bushnell.org/donate now. And as a reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to sign up for our e-club at bushnell.org/eclub to get the latest up-to-date information from us every week. Follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the usual places. I also hope you'll join us for our next episode of From the Wings on Thursday, May 5th. Stay tuned to our social media channels to learn more about who my guests will be then. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Take good care.